January 18. I'm not sure if this is the right place to start to get to the point my thoughts are circling around, but let's jump in here anyway. How would you define intellectual? Intellectuals don't have the best reputation right now, eh? There's the attempt to connect the term with an elite status, also with people who are out of touch with the reality of people who are normal. This vilification, often powered by people with money or their money, would make me laugh if it weren't done to shape the reality of countless of people. Because intellectual comes from the Latin term intelligere, what simply means to understand. This makes an intellectual anyone in the habit of thinking about abstract ideas, and that's what we are evolved for. But people are told over and over again that thinking is bad. Really, don't do it. But let's look at another example of the same mechanism at play. Often it is easier to notice something when one isn't in the midst of it. Like when you realize that Nazi Germany was a no good, very, very bad idea while your country is heading in the same direction, what is much harder to comprehend. Anyway, we go back, where else, to the Middle Ages and the notion of social inequality. It wasn't a thing. There's no mention of a Latin term equalitas or inequalitas or the English, French, Spanish, German, or Italian cognates in medieval literature before the end of the 15th century when the Europeans crashed into the Americas and they had to come up with an explanation why they had the right to keep it. So to say thinkers back then rejected the notion would be wrong. The idea it could exist never occurred to them, because people back then lived in a culture that shaped a reality in which it was assumed that rank and hierarchy had existed from the very beginning, which was thought to have been in the Garden of Eden, in which Adam clearly outranked Eve. Any questions? Astonishingly enough, this discourse about the existence or non-existence of discussions about concepts and how they shape our perception of reality, not just of our environment, but of us personally, is to lead me to free will. But to make my argument more round, I need some more data points. One concerns our genes. Evolution is basically a huge field try of ideas. Some work better than others, some are huge failures. In the end, it's a bit of a lottery with what mix we end up. That mix well determines a lot about us, as do things like, are we hungry? Or what are we smelling? Or, oh, this color in this room is so nice. Did you know that a hungry person is less generous, less trusting, less able to read the expression of someone else's face? Or that bad smells and tastes make us more conservative because our brain confuses them with disgusting morals? If you're interested, there are tons of studies like this that show that to a large part we are biological machines. Something is put in, something comes out. Add all this up with culture, the story that allows us to work together as a society, that shapes our reality from the second of our birth, our personal desires. Today, it's shaped in part by romanticism that tells us that in order to make the most out of a human experience, we must have as many different experiences as we can, like talking to a camera to post it to TikTok. We must open ourselves to a wide spectrum of emotions. We must sample various kinds of relationships. We must try different cuisines. We must learn to appreciate different styles of music or speak different languages. Now, is your decision to go on a foreign holiday shaped by your free will, or is it just a decision with conscious intent because you were shaped into the person with the intent by everything from evolution to the imaginary order of a day? and capitalism. Though the experience of free will is so convincing, it seems to be more of the latter. Do humans have actual free will? Who knows? But is it important? Not so much. Because we can regulate at least some of the things that bring us to every moment we experience. We can give pregnant people enough nutrition so the embryo and fetus develops under the best possible conditions. We can feed the children the right things and enough of them, especially in their first few years, and expose them to the right kind of stimuli so their brains develop correctly. We can distribute universal basic income so stress levels are lowered. That leads to less hunger and better physical and mental health. We can use science to equal the field. You know, the people who tell you not to think, don't want to happen. But it isn't the purpose of science to cure us of wonder. Its purpose is to reinvigorate and reinfect us with wonder all the time. Wonder leads to thinking, leads to changes in the brain, leads to another perception of reality, leads to different decision, leads to a multitude of possible worlds. Make a habit of thinking, change your world, your world.